ScreenAgers, welcome back to the Canon. Once again, your favorite movie podcast. As always, the one and only movie podcast providing you with a watch list of the most essential movies ever made. My name is Raf, and we've got another amazing episode lined up for y'all today. Once again, we're not going to be talking a specific essential movie. We're continuing doing a couple special episodes before we dive in fully to season 7, which is right around the corner. Should be here any day now. Wait patiently. But in the meantime, we're going to be talking about something that you maybe recently saw on the website. Kane, our good friend Vinny Kane, put together a list of the 100 best female horror characters of all time. So we're going to be talking through that a little bit today. But Kane, welcome back to the Canon. How you doing, man?
Howdy, howdy. How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. Before we jump in, I think everyone's begging the question because we see your Ron Swanson avatar everywhere. It's in the all of your articles. We see it in the discus when you're or discuss whatever the hell that it's called in the comment section.
Right.
Do you IRL have a Ron Swanson style mustache?
I have a beard. I don't have a mustache.
Full beard.
Now I have a full beard. The mustache is very. If I were to shave my beard and just leave the mustache, it would look very much like Ron Swanson.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
I don't have his flowing locks and Buffon hairdo, but I could definitely pull off the mustache.
Sweet. I love that. When was the last time you were rocking the mustache?
Oh God, it's been years. I've probably had. It's probably been. I think I shaved it off one time back in probably 2018.
Okay. So it's been some time.
And yeah. But then it was like right back to full beard.
Nice.
But
Okay.
yeah.
I felt like everyone was asking because I always picture you with a nice full mustache, but
I know. I hate to break
not the
the
beard.
illusion, but
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, just a big old nicely trimmed beard, but definitely a full mustache.
Do you ever let the beard grow all the way out?
No, I did once. I was into the following the Duck Dynasty kind of look
Yeah.
back, whatever that was,
Yeah, like the
15 years
2010s.
ago.
Yeah.
Kind of went that, and I was like, once it got to a certain point, it's like, yeah, I don't like this. So just high and tight, nice and trim. That's about it. I usually trim every couple of weeks, so I don't let it get too bushy.
Love it. Love it. I up until very recently was rocking a mustache, and I actually shaved it as of today, as of this recording. Like I woke up this morning with a mustache, and I will now go to sleep without one, and it kind of feels weird because I had it
Oh
for
yeah.
a few months.
Oh yeah. Yeah, anytime I remember shaving back in the day, it was like, yeah, when I would do a clean shave, but I haven't done a clean, like I said, clean shaven forever. So I don't know
Mhm.
what I would probably, my mind would break at this point of how long I've had facial hair of what would what that would
What
look
would a
like or
full
feel
clean
like.
shave look
Yeah.
like? Yeah, yeah.
I remember one
There,
of the first times I shaved it off when my daughter was young, and she just looked at me, and was like, yeah, I don't like that. Like, all right.
those videos are always hilarious. Like, yeah, kids, like small children seeing their dads for the first time without facial hair.
Yeah.
I've in the 34 years that I've been on this planet, I've never once seen my dad without a mustache. Like,
Oh wow, that's crazy.
yeah, if he ever shaved it, I don't think he will at this point. He's kind of you got to ride it out um, at
Yeah,
this
at
point.
a certain
But
point, yeah, might as well.
yeah, never, never. I think he's had a mustache for like 40 to 50 years of his life, if not
That's
longer.
yeah, that's crazy, but
Yeah,
might as well if you can rock it, might as well.
might as well. Yeah. Um, so there's no way to tie it back to what we're going to be talking about because all of the characters who we're going to be talking about who are featured on this list, none of them grow facial hair
I don't think any
because
of them have facial hair. It's not if it was a sailor's list, some of them probably would have some
yeah.
facial hair, but
So this was all you put together this list of 100 the 100
yeah,
best female characters of the horror genre. What like inspired the list, or were you just like looking for something fun to do and decided to run with it? I don't think it's like tied into any specific themes or topics that we're doing for this month. Like what
So
what
I
led you to it?
it's a little bit of a cheat. I actually did this list back in, I want to say it was either 2019 or 2020.
Mhm.
And it was one of the first lists that I had done. You know, our the site started in 2019, and I think I had done a couple of lists, and I was pretty new to writing. Period. So at the time when I did that list, um, February used to be, and I think now it's March, but it
Mhm.
there was a big program, or push for February being female horror month. And
Mhm.
so I was like, all right, let's jump on that, and it was like, it kind of felt good. And I was like, also, I was like, it's different. I had done movie list, and I was like, hey, let's do a character list. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, let's go with the ladies and stuff. And so I did that list back then, and kind of to tie it in why I did it now. Um, we real quick we Duke and Dogger and I have kind of looked at like a lot of like SEO back end stuff, which I'm not going to get in all that because I don't even understand it. But basically just ways to get us more views and get us out there on Google and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And we saw a lot of uptick in some views and stuff on the back end, and for some reason there was a lot of stuff that was popping off that was like, oh, okay, that makes sense, an 80s character list or whatever. And a lot of it was lists that was popping off. But
Mhm.
one that stood out to me was my 2020 female horror list and or character list. And I was like, that's interesting, I wonder why. But then it was like, I think just, you start going for greatest, if you start to Google greatest female
Mhm.
horror characters, mine would start to pop up pretty early. I was like, you know what? Okay, cool. So I went to look at it, and I was just like, to me in my mind, I was like, man, this was a bad list. But again, I even put that in the intro on the list now of like, I felt like I don't know if I'm good at lists, but I feel like I am better at what I want my list to look like, or improved of my
Mhm.
understanding of what I want a list to be. And so and then even like my writing, like I'm not a writer. I've never claimed to be a writer. I'm one of
Mhm.
those two index fingers. That this person was good. That's my reviews. Um, but so I started looking at it, and I was like, you know what? In the last 5 or 6 years, I bet we've got so many quality female characters in horror, because horror
Mhm.
is just, it's on a, I'm a horror nut. It's one of my first loves when it comes to movies. That's what really got me into movies. So looking back, is like, man, horror is just on such a big wave right now. And I hate
Mhm.
the term elevated horror, but I would say that horror has been elevated as far as like, freaking like a Ryan Coogler is doing a horror movie, and we're getting
Mhm.
great, really great directors and auteurs like Ari Aster and Robert Eggers and stuff like that doing horror movies and all that, and they're actually becoming part of the the Oscar, race and stuff, and actually being given respect in that I've been begging for. So horror's been on such a good trend lately, and we've got so many more quality female characters that weren't just your typical damsel in distress final
Mhm.
girls, screaming,
Yeah.
blonde hair bimbos and all that kind of stuff, stereotypical. So I started looking of like, man, I wonder how many I would add. And so I just kind of started from a blank slate and just started ranking everybody that I would rank, adding in new people and all that. I think I ended up with like 20 new entries, not just new in the past few years, but there were some classics that I hadn't seen, so I added
Mhm.
them in there. So that was kind of the genesis of updating this list.
Sweet. Did you start like when you're constructing a list, or when you were constructing this list, do you like start with number 1 and then work your way back, or do you just start like jotting down like everyone who you think might be worthy and then get to 100 and then like order it from there? Like give me like a thought behind the thought process.
So I usually will just jot down as many as possible. And there's sometimes where I've gotten to 200, 250, a
Mhm.
different like that, and then and it's just mainly because the biggest concern I have for me when I do a list is leaving off somebody big. Like,
Mhm.
there's the objective side and the subjective side to the list, which we can kind of get in a little bit later, but
Mhm.
I don't want to leave off somebody that is a major influence on something like this or a greatest movie or anything like that that should be on the list, whether I'm not a big fan or not. So I just like to jot down as many as I possibly can. And then I usually will go by like tiers of like, I usually won't go like, oh, well, this person's automatically number one. Cause when
Mhm.
I go through it, it may look a little different when I get to the end. So I'll do like tiers like this person should be top 25. This person's probably
Yeah.
top 50. This person's top 75, etc. And then once I get that, then I start to try to look, okay, yeah, this person should be cut. This person should be cut. This one should
Mhm.
be just obliterated. They shouldn't even be on the list at all, that type of thing. And then I
Yeah.
start to kind of really hone in on, well, what are my rules for this list? What do I want at the end of the day? That kind of thing. And then I start structuring. And once I get there, then I start tinkering, that this person needs to be from 99 to 70 or something like that. So
Yeah. You're
yeah,
not like,
that's kind of
a name doesn't pop into your head and you're like, "Okay, this person is clearly number 63." That's just
right.
and
Yeah,
then you
no.
lock yourself
There's
into
some is
that.
like, I know I want this person on the list, or this person needs to be on the list. Now, where should they be on the list?
Y
Based on whatever criteria that I have for that list.
yeah. Wow, I have so many other questions about list construction, but I'm gonna table those for now because I think we might have some other places where we can have that conversation, and I wanna tie the list back to, the canon itself,
All right.
because as I was going through this list, I realized, like, "Oh, shit, there are a lot of characters here who are featured in movies that are in the canon." There are characters here in movies that probably should be in the canon, but are not in
Right.
the canon, so I wanna talk about that a little bit too. And then there were some characters who are in movies in the canon that were missing from the list that I also want to ask about.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of how we'll tie it back to um, you know, the Wastelands canon and our list of essential movies and all that stuff.
Sounds good.
So just to give our listeners some quick context and numbers, um, out of the top 10 characters, 7 are from movies that are featured in the canon, which I thought was pretty interesting. There are
Wow.
3 who are not, and will need to pull up the list in order to get who those 3 are.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
interested in who that is.
there are 20 movies in total from the canon that are represented on the list, which I think speaks to, like, the quality of horror movies all time that we have and, like, them being recognized in the canon, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Mhm.
If you want, we can go through what those 20 are if you wanna guess some of them, um, and then we can, like, knock through it that way, and then all of the top 5 characters are featured, from movies that are in the canon, which I thought was pretty
Yeah,
interesting, and it's like
I figured those 5. I think I already know one. Because Nightmare on Elm Street's not in the canon yet, right?
yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street's not in the canon.
Which is a travesty.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, and I've, like, heard the argument for both sides of it, like, it is, like, an amazing movie, big for the genre, but also, like, if we're thinking about movies that, like, define cinema, like, do we already
It's
have
on
too many
there.
other
It's on there.
things? It is on
It's
the canon?
automatic. No, no, I'm saying if you're gonna say it's things that define cinema, it has to be on there.
Ye but I think the other side of the argument is that there are other movies that, like, do the slasher thing that are included, so then, like, does having something like Nightmare on Elm Street, even though it is also great, like, then that does that become, like, a bit redundant or, like, repetitive in terms of, like, what it is that we're talking about? Like, if we have
Oh,
Halloween
yeah.
on
I got
as,
you.
like, the definitive, example of a slasher movie, and then like that leads someone to Nightmare on Elm Street, and they're like, "Oh, this movie's also awesome," but like, do both movies need to be on? I see it both ways.
Well,
Um,
I mean, we got 2 Harry Potter movies on there, so that tells me right there that, yes, we should have, but I don't want the Harry Potter people coming after me, but, no,
uh,
to me, it's something that it redefined because if you really got into slashers from yes, Halloween is a very the prototype that kind of launched into Friday the 13th, but Friday the 13th to me is what really started the slasher just boom. So
mhm,
that you just started getting it to me, it nailed down to the like what a slasher, the template of what a slasher is. But so by 1984, when Nightmare on Elm Street's out, it's like, and especially even back then, but after a while, it's like kind of like even like with superhero movies, after a few years, it's like, okay, I'm kind of done with this. And that
yeah,
was kind of you're getting into just the sloppy, just bad, really slasher movies that are just being thrown out there because people were loving them.
mhm,
But Nightmare on Elm Street was so it reinvented the slasher genre and gave it another boom and something that was different of like, okay, well, this guy's not just a physical person that's in your way with a mask
mhm,
and all that. Now this dude's killing you in your sleep, which at the time was, so different and
yeah,
whatnot. So to me, it's like you see that all the time of whether it's whatever genre it is, you see
mhm,
something that redefines it in a different way, and Wes Craven did that 3 different times in the horror genre with Last House on the Left, Nightmare on Elm Street, and with Scream. And
mhm,
so it definitely should be on there. In my opinion, if you're going to talk about it as far as an essential, if you were going to tell the history
yeah,
of slashers, it has to be on there.
yeah. I hear what you're saying. I it's such a hard question of like, how do we, you know, here at the Wasteland, our committee of brilliant minds who have put together the canon and are reshaping it over time, how is it that we put together the list, and what are the movies that we leave off in name of other movies,
Well,
so
and being one of the first one, like one of the original who helped conceptualize the canon,
mhm,
we were too strict. I think the year it was, I think Nightmare on
it
Elm
was
Street
the
was one of
year.
those that it was the
Yeah.
year of like limited to, 1984 is just a banger year and stuff.
Mhm.
And then it's like, well, the entire list, because so many of us love 80s and 80s horror, and on
Yeah.
top of that, and just 80s movies, it's like our entire list would just be 80s movies, really. So
Yeah.
I
All of the
understand
most important
limiting.
movies ever made all happened in
Right.
the '80s.
Right, and it was one of those, it was like kinda you kinda have concessions on certain things, and
Mhm.
so it's kinda like, okay, it should be in there, and it'll be in there eventually, and stuff,
Yeah.
and if we were just throwing, but you're doing whatever, 52 movies a year or something, it's like, yeah, something's gonna get left out, so
Yeah. But yes, so that was one of them. I just pulled the list up, so I've got the top 10. So number 10 is Tony Collette's character in Hereditary.
mhm.
Good movie. I get why it's not in the canon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
to
like,
me, so that one's not in there?
yeah, it's not in the canon.
It's not in there? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's one of those that it'll be in there eventually. I think when we did that, it was so new at the
Mhm.
time, and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, like you look back on that year now, and that's like definitely one of the movies that sticks out.
And it's still, I mean, it's one of those, that's what, and again, part of the canon process, which I know you've probably have gone over plenty
Mhm.
too, is just like we want to give some time things to breathe a little bit, give a little bit of a buffer because you just never know how much a movie's going to hold up and stuff. And I think that one has held up. And I mean, Tony
Oh,
Collette
yeah.
and that, I mean, her performance alone should be in the canon. So
Yeah. Absolute dynamite performance. Okay, number 9 is Annie Wilkes, which is Kathy Bates's character in Misery. Misery is in the canon. There is an episode on it. A lot of fun. Folks
yeah,
should definitely go listen to that.
yeah, great.
Totally understand why that character is as high as she is. Number 8 is Marion Crane, which is Janet Leigh's character from Psycho, obviously iconic. Like, if we really want to talk about like the template for the slasher genre, like
Right.
you have to go back to Psycho and
Exactly.
like
Yes.
yeah, she's an incredibly interesting character. So
Well,
down
and
with that.
you know, and not and just how she, you know, it's like the um, Drew Barrymore from Scream, like that was done
Mhm.
basically, 30 years prior with Janet Leigh and Marion Crane. Of like, okay, you think this is the, spoiler alert, but it's like
Yeah.
you think this is the main character and all that, and it's like, the way she goes out, but just the iconic nature of her is just amazing. So yeah,
Yeah. Not to be the guy who points out the passage of time, but it's been almost as long between right now and the release of Scream as it was between the release of Scream and the release of Psycho.
yeah, that's crazy,
Yeah. Um, I typically
absolutely nuts.
I typically hate when folks, point that out, but the passage of time is real. It
It's like,
happens.
nope. Yeah, when
Yeah.
people say is like, oh, 10 years ago or something like that, is like, okay, that's the 90s or something like that. It's like, no, that was 30 something years ago. It's like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
almost 20
Yeah.
25 years ago now.
Yeah, the 90s were between 25 and 30 years ago.
Right,
Um, okay, so number 7 is Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street, which,
right.
we already spoke about a little bit. Number 6 kinda surprised me that this movie isn't in the canon. Rosemary from Rosemary's Baby, not a movie
Yeah,
that's in the canon.
yeah, that I mean, it makes a little bit of sense just because it's an older movie.
Mhm,
We do. I'll admit I struggle with older movies myself, but there's not a lot of older movie fans,
mhm.
and especially if something like Rosemary's Baby. It's a different type of horror movie that, to me, very much like Hereditary's inspired, got some inspiration and stuff by that and stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah, that one, it should be in there, but it also makes sense of why it's not in there with our crew.
that's fair, that's fair. Um, yeah, that makes sense. And then the top 5, like we said, all movies that are in the canon, all characters featured in
Mhm.
movies that are in the canon. So number 5 is Clarice from Silence of the Lambs. Obviously, like,
Yes,
of course.
for sure.
Jodie Foster is a queen. Um, I saw her at a restaurant once in an Italian spot in the West Village years ago, and I
Oh
was
wow.
so starstruck. She's so cool.
She's been one of my, ever since I was a kid, like, crushes. She's just the way she, her voice, and just being cute and all that, but also just the movies that I watched growing up,
Mhm.
on, so many of there were her from, being like Taxi Driver and stuff like that. So yeah, she's always been a star, and
Yeah,
yeah, Clary Starling is such a great character.
incredible character. Number 4 is Carrie, another one that's just like,
Yes.
yeah, of course.
Okay, so question:
Mhm.
Have you seen Carrie?
Yeah.
Okay. Is she a villain or not?
No, not
Yeah,
at
no,
all.
she's not a villain. Not at
No,
all. People,
not at all.
she's always on villain lists and stuff. I'm like, I don't think y'all read that movie right, but okay.
Yeah, yeah. So Carrie, we have an episode on. I think it's me, Sailor, and I want to say Ramona and maybe Bob, but
Okay.
we have that discussion. So
Oh, do you?
folks,
Okay.
yeah, folks should definitely go listen to that episode. Also, we have an episode on Silence of the Lambs, so
Awesome.
people should definitely go listen to that one as well. And I think I also shared there that I saw Jodie Foster at a restaurant because when that happens, like I'm gonna take every opportunity to mention that, of course.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Just real quick, back to
yeah.
Jodie Foster. I rewatched um Inside Man the other day,
Mm,
and she's so cool in it.
yeah,
It's just so cool and sexy. So, yeah, I had to throw that out there.
that's a good movie. I like that movie. I need to rewatch that. Okay, number 3, we've got Reagan from The Exorcist, which I still haven't seen all the way through because it terrifies me. I don't know when we're gonna get around to doing an episode on it because I'm, like, terrified of rewatching this movie.
It's so funny. I'm not a fan of The Exorcist.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I I understand it. Like I did a top 100 horror, and so of course it's on there.
Mhm.
Um, little quick of like how I do lists and stuff, and I know we'll get to a
Yeah.
little bit more, but just I try to be. You can't be fully objective when doing a list, but
Mhm.
there are certain parameters and certain rules I like to follow, and so even though I'm not a fan of The Exorcist, like I remember watching it as a kid and I laughed my ass off at it. Like to me, it was a comedy, and I'm like, I just never took it serious. Now,
Mhm.
but I'm watching it in the late '80s or so when I'm 8, 9, 10 years old, and I had seen other. I grew up on Freddy and Jason and all that, so it wasn't like something I just felt like I'd never had seen.
Mhm.
But uh, growing up and then becoming more of a cinephile or whatnot, it's like I understand exactly its place in not just horror history but movie history period. So I'm still going to have that ranked high on the
Yeah.
list. It may not be my number one, where it's I'm fine with other people having it number one, but it's not going
Mhm.
to be my number one. But you also got to look at just Blair's performance and the way her character was written and all that. That's why she's, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the movie overall, I got to give that character credit, and that's why she's number three.
Yeah. That's definitely hard when creating lists that, like, push and pull between objective, subjective, and even, like, the whole idea at least for me, the idea of, like, movies being objectively good or bad is
Right.
just, like, something that's, like, unattainable for us because all of our interpretations of art, it comes from, like, or a subjective point of view. Um, I think we were talking about it, so I don't know if we were talking about it in one of the comment sections or something, but someone mentioned that, like, movies can't necessarily be objectively good, but you can note when something is objectively bad, which
Oh
I
yeah,
think I am
I think I
kinda
remember
sympathetic
saying that.
to.
Yeah,
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 um,
yeah. I because yeah, the you can tell when just certain acting is bad, certain lighting, certain special effects, certain
mhm.
um whatever, directing to a certain extent. Yeah, if you're seeing boom mics in the back, or that kind
Yeah,
of stuff is like constantly is like, yeah, I think you can put an objective like this is not good. Doesn't mean it's not
yeah,
entertaining, doesn't mean that you can't like it, but
yeah,
it is a definitive. There's a reason why there is trash cinema and different stuff like that. Is so yeah, there. I agree. I agree with that statement. Anybody, we can argue about what's great. I mean, that's one of the nobody's going to ever. There's never going to be a consensus on whatever the greatest is of anything. Period.
mhm,
So, especially when it comes to art and cinema. So, I can
yeah,
agree with that statement. And I remember. I think I remember. I don't remember who said that either, but I remember reading that as well.
yeah, but, I mean, coming back to this list, respect to you for, trying to find that balance between, like, okay, like, the Reagan character in The Exorcist, like, isn't necessarily doing it for you, but you recognize that there is, like, significance behind it and that there is merit to, like, the writing of the character, the performance for the character, and all that
I mean, she
stuff.
broke her back for the role. I mean, it's like you got to give her
Yeah.
something.
When similar to you, but maybe kinda different, when I was in college, my buddies and I, we would, like, watch, like, the final scene when she's, like, freaking out and
Yeah,
she's, like, she's saying all the crazy stuff like, "Let Jesus fuck you."
yeah.
We would, like, put that on, like, while we
Your
were,
mother
like.
sucks cocks in hell is like,
Yeah,
how is
yeah,
that
like,
not funny?
we were, like, dumb college kids, like, we'd quote that to each other, and we would be, like, cracking up. Um, but then I remember I took this horror cinema class, and one of our screenings was The Exorcist, and I skipped it because I was, like, too scared to actually watch the movie in its entirety, and I felt like if I, like, watched those scenes within the context of the full movie, I would find them terrifying and not
Oh yeah.
hilarious when I'm, like,
Oh yeah.
hanging out with my buddies. So
Oh, definitely, definitely, and especially, what is tough with older movies, and I think that one holds up pretty well. But you go back
mhm,
and watch some of the special effects and stuff, because like I remember going back and like showing my kids some movies that I love from '80s and stuff, and they're like, I liked it. It's a little cheesy, but it's like, well, in 1987, those you couldn't tell that that guy's throat was being slit, and it looked
Mhm.
like plastic or rubber or whatever it is, latex. Like you could, it's like that is like, man, it's like that stuff still holds up pretty decently
Oh, yeah.
for being 50 years old.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, I say it all the time, but I think that, like, newer stuff looks cheesy, and I for the most part, and I think, like, the older stuff is, like, that's, like, what looks cool and
I'm a
fun and
practical
exciting.
effects. If you're a horror
Yeah.
lover, you have got to be a practical effects fan.
Yeah.
And for some reason, CGI has gotten worse over the last
Mhm.
10 years or so, which is odd. But anytime I'm watching a horror movie and there's CGI blood or something, to a certain extent, do I understand why they kind of? But it's also, I'm like, it's
Yeah.
lazy. Like it would
Yeah.
look so much better if that drip of blood from that knife wound was practical as opposed to CGI, which I can see it's CGI and it completely takes me out of the moment.
Yeah. I hear you. I'm with you on that one. Number 2, we've got the one and only Ellen Ripley from the Alien franchise, which is one of the few movie franchises that has multiple entries in the canon. I
Yes.
think it might be the only horror franchise that has multiple entries. So we've got Alien and Aliens. Yeah, this is like another no-brainer. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it definitely deserves they're so wildly different, from Alien to Aliens. One's more of an action horror, one's more of a, to me sci-fi horror. They're both sci-fi, but Aliens is more of your action. I mean, you got space marines. I mean,
yeah.
how badass is that? And then you got Ellen Ripley just right there with it. So yeah, it's definitely deserved, and she's one of the first, between she was really the first badass character that I remember as a kid of just being
Mhm.
like, man, she's just, she's such a great character where she's just on top of everything and just doing what she needs to do. But also there's the vulnerability there, which is such a great,
Yeah.
there's a reason why some female characters just don't land as much sometimes, and that's kind of I'm just I'm badass boss chick, and it's like, oh no, you know I need some vulnerability, I need some give and take there, and she is an absolute, to me, a template of that badass chick that people should strive for.
Absolutely. Yeah. Such a good, complex, cool, iconic character in like all of the different ways. Um, so an understandable number 2. Wouldn't have been. I would not have been surprised if she were number 1, especially given
It was tough, yeah.
the given the sensibilities and taste of the Wasteland. And when I was reading through it the first time, for some reason I thought it was you and Sailor who collabed on this list, not realizing it
No,
was just you. And
no, I just stole some of his write ups is all.
I don't know that I fully know or like kind of know your taste, you know? I feel like I'm still getting to understand the Kane taste.
I'm a little bit more all over the place when it comes to
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, um, I mean, I love horror, of course, and stuff, but I try to, especially whenever I started writing, however many years ago, even before the site started and stuff. I tried
Mhm.
expanding my taste in overall just movies. I try to force myself to watch older movies, even though, like I said earlier, I struggle with older movies.
Yeah.
Like if I look at my letterbox, it's like the majority of my movies are going to be from 1980 to now, and
Yeah.
some 70s, few 60s, very few 50s on down and
Yeah.
stuff. So I think my taste is kind of all over the place, and I'm that way with the music. Of like, if I like it, I like it. It doesn't matter the
Mhm.
genre. I'm gonna like it. Yeah, I'm gonna go to certain things like horror, sci-fi, action, more or
Yeah.
less. So, but yeah, so my
Yeah.
my taste is kind of all over the place and stuff. It's like I love trash. I don't like sailors trash, but there are some where it's like I do enjoy, some of our monsoon visions and stuff. It's like
Mhm.
he has opened my eyes to some stuff. It's like, man, I do like some of the stuff, and it's helped me dig deeper. So I'm a little bit eclectic when it comes to my taste.
Yeah. I think we all are, which is nice. But, like,
Yeah.
like, when I watch a movie and I'm like, "Okay, who at the Wasteland would like this? Which of our contributors would be down with this? Who would be, like, super down with this?" Um, which is always, like, a fun exercise. So I
Yeah.
was thinking through, like, if this were something that you and Sailor were collaborating on, I could totally see Sailor, like, really advocating for Ellen Ripley to be number 1.
Oh yeah, he
Yeah.
probably definitely would. And
Yeah.
I think I may have had, and I don't know if I mentioned it earlier in my construction of the list, and one reason why I did it. I also thought it would be a really cool idea because we've never updated a list since we've done,
Mhm.
and how many lists we've done and how many years we've been around. So when I updated it, I also made sure I wanted to put where they were previously ranked on the old list,
Yeah, I like that.
and stuff. And so there was a time where I was like, should Ripley be number one? I had Laurie Strode number one last time, um, and stuff. So I kind of went back and forth, but I was just like, no, I feel like there's, yes, Ellen Ripley is a template like I talked about and a badass, but when it comes
Mhm.
to a definitive horror character, there's no, to me, better when it comes to females, and just in general she would be she'd be highly ranked if I did an entire horror character list
Oh,
of
yeah.
Laurie Strode.
Yeah. Yeah, so Laurie Strode from the Halloween series is your number 1, which is a great number 1. I mean, like, I'm a cliche, I rewatch Halloween every Halloween. She's an amazing as, like, the prototype for the final girl character. Um, Obviously, like, great appearance throughout the series, but, like, definitely in that first one, which is the only one that is, actually in the canon. Um, but yeah, man, this list is, like,
Which makes sense because the
pretty
Halloween
banging.
franchise isn't good overall. But
Yeah.
well, and what's interesting, to point out a little bit, so I have like Laurie Strode, and Laurie Strode to me, yes, she's that your typical final girl, damsel in distress, and she does kind of need somebody to save her. But throughout the series, she got so much better, and
Mhm.
so much more weight, and so much, she actually grew. She wasn't a one note character, and all that, and with all her different ones, with her appearances with, Busta Rhymes Halloween, throw that out the window. But but her, H2O and stuff. But with these last three,
Mhm.
um that really was like, it really cemented that she should be the number one character, which is funny because to me, on the flip side, I did have, um Sydney Prescott. She dropped a little bit for me because I think
Mhm.
the older Scream has done more damage to her. Not like horrible or anything, but I don't think it's helped her in the way that it did
Yeah.
with Lori. So she dropped from 6 to 11. Sydney Prescott did it from the Scream franchise and stuff. So to
Just
me, it's
outside the
like,
top
yeah,
10. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
and I
fair.
like, yeah. So I'm like, yeah, to me, Lori has gotten, and I think maybe if she didn't have this last three, I'd be like, maybe Ellen Ripley should be number one. So
Yeah.
no, but
But that really
she nailed it
solidified it
home.
for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice. Yes, like we said, all the top 5, are in the canon. 7 of the top 10. I think there are a few others in the top 20 and throughout the list. So I'll go through some of the other movies that have characters on this list that are also in the canon.
Okay.
Some of these movies have multiple characters. So, like, Alien slash Aliens, Carrie has multiple characters. The Exorcist has multiple characters. Does Halloween have multiple characters? I don't know.
No, no,
Scream that we
not
just
that one.
mentioned has multiple characters. I think
Yeah.
3 characters, which is, like, pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so other movies in the canon that are on the list. The Witch. Thomason from The Witch is listed on this list. Uh, I'm not gonna lie, although I think you've mentioned that you're not a big Eggers guy, but I
I
thought
love
that,
Eggers, but I'm not the witch didn't click with me, but I do think that
yeah.
uh, Anya Taylor Joy's performance in The Witch is great, and it deserved to be on the list.
Yeah, she's amazing in that movie. If this were my list, Kane, she would be way higher.
Was
I think
she?
that character is amazing. And I adore that movie. Um, we have Get Out, we have Titan, like we mentioned, a few characters from
Yeah,
Scream. We have two characters from The Shining, two characters from Poltergeist. We have a character from the Blair Witch Project. We have Tippy Henderson from The Birds.
yeah.
We already mentioned The Exorcist, which has two characters. Suspiria, Carrie, which has two characters. Alien and Aliens, Night of the Living Dead. I was surprised that Barbara was that high on the list. She's like top 20, right? She's like top 15.
She is. I've got her, and I think yeah, I had her 14. And I think I had her a little bit higher last time, and she may have dropped just a little bit. I
Hmm.
think Barbara from Night of the Living Dead is the most annoying character in the best possible way of what she represents,
Hmm.
because Night of the Living Dead is it's got so many things in commentary that we already know, but she's that person that you have to slap and drag along. That I think a lot of people would like, oh, if that were to happen, if The Walking Dead was to happen, or whatever, an
Hmm.
invasion or whatever were to happen, we all like to think that I would be the person that would know what to do and know how to act and all that. But the most likely thing is that you're probably not that person, or somebody in your family or group is not going to be that person.
Hmm.
And that's Barbara, where it's like from the moment she's in the cemetery with her brother, she's like just just an idiot, and just freezes and doesn't know what
Yeah.
to do, and she is basically just kind of lucks her way into surviving and stuff. And so I just think it's just, and the fact that she's very recognizable. I think
Hmm.
most people, that even if you haven't seen the movie, you've at least seen or know of the
Yeah.
Barbara, they're coming for, that part, or
Yeah.
her just being slapped, like she
Yeah.
should, or something, is like, if you picture that, you just see Judith O'Dea as Barbara. So that's why, to me, and I do love, as annoying as she is, I do love the character and the performance, because how many times have we seen people that maybe not feed into that because they want to look cool, or they want to be the hero or whatnot. And
Mm.
so her buying right into that performance, and buying into that, making that movie one of the greatest of all time, and a landmark horror movie, she had to be high on the list for me.
You know what? You make a very compelling case. I I see your point. Um, so you're a Barbara, is what you're telling us. The zombie apocalypse
I
hits
might very
tomorrow.
well be, I
I think I would be a Barbara. I think I'd go pretty catatonic if if I did, there were zombies everywhere. Like I think that's a very fair. She's a very understandable reflection of like what most of our reactions would be to the zombie apocalypse happening.
right. And there's, and sorry, but when it comes to stuff like that, there's going to be certain leaders and alphas and all that, whether they're
Hmm.
right or wrong, or do the right or wrong things. But there are going to be people who just freeze and stuff. And I'm not saying either way. I feel like, I do feel like I'd be a person that would, run toward the danger to protect people, as
You're a
opposed to
Barbara.
cower.
You can
But
tell us. It's
I
okay.
could probably be a Barbara. Just slap a beard on Barbara, and that's me.
Slap a funny mustache on her, and that's you. That's the two of us hunkered down. But yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about that movie is right, like all those characters represent like different avenues and like ways that we would respond. And the fact that she's not like a prototypical protagonist or hero in the story doesn't necessarily mean that
Exactly.
it's a bad character, right? Like you don't have to be Ellen Ripley or Laurie in order to be seen as a good character. Like you can be an interesting, fascinating character to explore in a lot of different other ways. And that's kind of what Barbara brings into it.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
if she's Ben, if she's that character, if she's Dwayne Jones's character, who's kind of getting everybody right and kind of doing the right things and stuff, is like, okay, I think I don't think she's Ripley level badass, but I also think in 19 you know
67.
1968, 68 when
Yeah.
it came out,
Yeah.
it probably wouldn't work as well, especially for the commentary that it was trying to tell, because every character is there is basically a facet of society, so you have to
Mhm.
have somebody who's just going to be, I just turn into goo and not know what to do. So
Yeah. All right. I'm down with Barbara being this high. I can get down with it. So okay, more movies that we have from the canon. The Bride from Bride of Frankenstein, iconic,
yes,
understandable. If this were Bob's list, she would be number one. I
yeah,
get it. She's yeah, amazing.
yeah.
Um, I think she's outside of the top 10, but and I'm forgetting
She's
her
right at
name.
13.
Oh, the
The
Bride.
oh
No,
no, the
sorry, the
bride. Yeah.
next one that I have
Oh, the next
is
one.
from
Gotcha.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm forgetting the final
Oh,
girl's name.
Sally Hardesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sally.
Um, who also can be seen as like kind of the prototype for the final girl. And
Yes,
then
I
and
think
then we've got
I think I had her. To me, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the greatest horror movie of all time.
mhm,
Um, I had on my list that it's the number one. I had her at 8 last time, and I think I dropped her just a little bit, mainly because I think I moved up the two Annies, um, from Hereditary and
mm,
Misery quite a bit,
yeah,
just because I really love their performances and stuff. And I mean, Sally gives such a great performance and whatnot, but there's a lot of it was also a lot of final girls
yeah,
there, so it's like something kind of has to give in that regard. So she dropped a little bit, which I was fine dropping her to 12.
yeah, but another great character.
Yeah.
And then so then rounding out the 20, we've got what movies we've spoken about a little bit. Misery, Psycho, Silence of the Lambs, and Halloween. And looking at this list, we have done episodes on most of these movies. So just running through it one more time. The Witch, we have an episode on that. Go check it out. Get Out, episode on that. Titan, episode on that. Scream, we have an episode on that. The Shining, we've done an episode there. Poltergeist, we've done an episode there. Blair Witch Project, have not done an episode on that. The Birds, we have done an episode on that. The Exorcist, we have not yet done an episode. Suspiria, Carrie, Alien, we've done episodes on. Aliens, we have not done an episode.
Okay.
Night of the Living Dead, Bride of Frankenstein, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Misery, Psycho, Silence of the Lambs, and Halloween all have episodes on. The only ones we haven't done episodes are Aliens, The Exorcist, and Blair Witch Project, and two of the three of those are just because I am too scared to watch those movies.
It's funny. I'm very weird where a lot of things don't freak me out,
Hmm.
but the Blair Witch Project did freak me out. And I was 18 when I saw that,
Hmm.
but mainly because of the movie Deliverance. Um, because of the squeal like a pig scene. For people who have seen that, know exactly what I'm talking about. Your mouth is purty. Um, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, basically just the hillbillies in the woods messing with it. And the Blair Witch doesn't really say what it is. And in my mind, it was just a bunch of drunk hillbillies, toothless hillbillies out there wanting to mess with people. And so, like, when I'm going back to my truck in the middle of the night or something like that, is like, oh my gosh, is there going to be a drunk hillbilly that comes out here and tells me I got a pretty mouth strumming a banjo? So that did freak me out, which where again, The Exorcist did not when I was 8. So
Yeah, I also haven't seen Deliverance, but I think that's a very, very fair point.
there's a that scene. I did that scene when I was doing those. That's
Mhm.
on the website series. So that was one of the first ones I did, and which is one of our, somehow weirdly, one of our best trafficked
Oh yeah, those
trafficked articles on the site.
that's a great series. Yeah, I mean, I think I will obviously come around to the Blair Witch Project at some point. I will have to for the sake of the show. Um, but that has always been one that has kind of like freaked me out.
And I remember seeing it when they were still trying to make it seem like it was real. Like I
Yeah,
saw it like opening night, and it really didn't, wasn't, you didn't have like with not social media and all that. It was like, the last thing I remember, and not that I thought that it was real or something like that, but it was like it did play into your mind subconsciously a little bit. That's like, man, the way it was shot. It was something I had never really seen.
yeah.
The found footage thing. So it was like, yeah, that's man, it was just it felt very real. I didn't know the actors at all, so it felt more than like a student movie or something or that, or it just, man, to me it was just, yeah, it's so great.
Yeah. I think I'm a little bit younger than you, so like I think when I was in like late elementary, early middle school, we had like known that it was a thing and like kind of known that it was, fake or whatever, but like whenever we would like go like play in the woods or whatever, like, like run around, like play like
Oh yeah.
manhunt in the woods, like there were still times where we'd be like, oh, the Blair Witch is gonna get you, and like it would be kind of freaky, like just hanging out in the woods and stuff.
Oh heck yeah.
Um, so yeah, we'll get around to that. Okay, so a few notable, well, maybe not notable, uh, uh, exclusions from the list. Gosh, I could not find that word. But movies that are in the canon that I was just thinking of that like could have maybe fit into the list. So one, no ScarJo from Under the Skin. Are we just not considering that to be a horror flick, or do you not think that the character is worthy, or both?
um I didn't. Yeah, I don't know if the character, I do like that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how great of a character she is in my mind.
Okay.
Um, I think the story that it's being told and all that, and I think there are some moments like the moment where she's on the beach with the baby and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But I don't, yeah, I don't. For me, she wasn't the greatest character to be able to make the list. I did have her on a long cut list, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. That totally makes sense. Okay, another movie that's in the canon that's great. We've done an episode on it, and I think it's going to be obvious when I say what the movie is that there were no characters from this, but no one from The Thing.
I wonder why. Maybe
Yeah,
the dog
yeah.
at the very beginning.
Was it a female dog?
Or was it a female dog?
N- but like, yeah, the joke is that like the whole point of The Thing is that it's all dudes.
Right.
Okay, another one which I was kind of surprised by, but also I think I was also still thinking that this was a list that you had collaborated with Sailor on, and definitely if you had collaborated with Bob on. But no one from the OG Evil Dead. I saw that there were one or two characters from one of the remakes, but no one from the original.
I did. So Linda from the original Evil Dead
Hmm.
was on my previous list, but I dropped her out for some of these newer entries. And let me see where I had her on my old list, because I don't think I had her extremely high. I had her at 78.
Hmm.
And like I said, I added about 20 new. Um, and so
Yeah.
I love the Evil Dead. I'm definitely an Evil Dead 2 truther more than the original
Yeah.
one, even though
Hell
I
yeah.
do love the
Groovy.
the first one and stuff of what it did, and I love Army of Darkness, but also when it comes to, I do like variety, even though there are multiple of certain ones. I just love Mia from the remake so much more.
Hmm.
That she just blows. Like, she, even though I do love Bruce Campbell and Ash and all that, which I very much, Ash could be considered a final girl on here because he basically
Hmm.
is that.
Yeah.
Um,
He's a
you
queen.
know, yeah, he basically is that with his screaming and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think Mia is such. It would be it would be 1A Ash and 1B Mia as far as if I was going to rank characters of that franchise, because she's amazing. I think I was having a conversation a little bit. One of our commenters pointed out that I agreed with is that Jane Levy, how she didn't become just a massive star after that. She's been in a lot of horror movies, more or less, uh, since then. But she was just great, and her character trajectory was just, to me, whereas like Linda was just kind of like, to
Yeah.
me, I was just like, I could live without her.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a great movie, obviously, like, deserves to be in the canon. We have an
Yeah,
episode. Go check it out. But yeah, there weren't really any characters in that felt like, yeah, we this is someone who we need to highlight on this list. So
yeah.
I get it. And then the last one, kind of a similar question to ScarJo from Under the Skin. Like, I don't know if this movie fully qualifies, but the kid from Pan's Labyrinth. Are we are we not considering that a horror flick? Or are you not a Guillermo del Toro guy?
No, I love Pan's Labyrinth is my favorite Gilmore del Toro. I think it's the best thing he's ever done.
Mhm.
Honestly, that would, to me, would be his masterpiece. I do like the kid. I don't think she would. I do think I definitely qualify that as a horror because it's like a fantasy horror
Mhm.
in my mind. And I do believe I have that on the my horror list, but I don't think that she was strong enough character, even though I do like the character. I just didn't think she was strong enough compared to some of these other ones.
Yeah.
I did have, again, she was one that I did consider, but it was probably one I kind of moved away. There's so much more in that movie. And that's kind of, in getting into the process of like, if I'm looking at a movie, what stands out, if, when you look at Alien, yeah, there's a couple of things that you can maybe say stand out above Ripley's
Mhm.
character of like the chest burster or the alien itself, but it's really Ripley when you get down to it.
Yeah.
Or Halloween, it's Michael Myers and it's Laurie Strode. When you start going down that, and it's like, man, there's the Pale Man, there's the
Yeah.
I can't think of his name, but the
Oh,
general or whatever.
yeah, the stepdad,
Right, the
the
stepdad, like,
fawn.
right, the
Yeah,
fawn. I mean, like, you start getting down there, it's like, okay, if you're the fifth, sixth, seventh best thing in the movie, are you really
a great
qualified to be
character.
on
Yeah.
a great character and stuff? Unless the movie's just that great, where yeah, you are, or if there's multiple, like Scream having three is mainly because there's so many versions or so many entries on there that it kind of helped, get like Gail Weathers on there. Like Gail to me is
Yeah,
not on there in the first, but she's on there because of uh, more entries. So that's kind of a little bit of why I didn't think she deserved to be on there.
totally fair. Um, Sweet. So, I don't know if you have the list in front of you or if you just,
I
like, have it
do.
in your head, but are there any characters from movies that you, like, know aren't in the canon besides, like, Nightmare on Elm Street that you would advocate for being in the canon? Like, we've got Red, the Lupita character from Us, which, like, amazing performance. I think everyone is on board with that being like an incredible character. Do we consider
Yeah.
Us to be something that belongs in the canon? Like Friday the 13th, should that be in the canon? I know I
Yeah.
saw someone from The
Right.
Fly. Like I know that's on the
Yeah.
canon, but feels very canon-y, kind of
Right.
feels like
Yeah.
in line with a lot of our tastes. So I don't know if you had any other movies that you'd advocate for that aren't
Oh, for
featured.
sure. I mean,
Yeah.
the number one with a bullet is Return of the Living Dead for me.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I'm sorry. There's other ones that I do think that would be more canon type
Hmm.
of movies, but I personally think Return of the Living Dead is the greatest zombie movie of all time. If you think of zombies,
Hmm.
you most of the time you think of Return of the Living Dead zombies. The running, the brains, the talking, brains, like that's from Return of the Living Dead, and all
Yeah.
that. So I think Night of the Living Dead is definitely there and all that. But when it comes to how zombies infiltrated pop culture, to
Mhm.
me, it's because of Return of the Living Dead, which
Yeah.
is trash is an all time. If I was doing a favorites, like a personal ranking list, trash would be
Mhm.
my probably my number one. She made me. I feel like she let me know that I am a very straight white male as a young kid. Seeing her do her naked dance in the cemetery
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Early crush.
that
Yeah.
would be one for me personally. Some other ones, yes, of course, not on Elm Street, Nightmare on Elm Street. Let me go. Us, I think Lupita Nyong'o is so great. I mean, so great. I mean, I think if that performance was within the next couple of years or right now, she would be up for an Oscar for that
Mhm.
performance because it's very much like with Michael B. Jordan in Sinners. It's very tough to have a double role and have them feel like distinct different people.
Mhm.
And she went to such extreme lengths on both of those to make them just feel genuine, like they were. I would have thought they were two different characters if I didn't know better. But I think Us is a little bit lower. Not,
Mhm.
I love Us, but I don't think it's as good
I love
canon
Us
worthy
too.
as get talk about I should rom coms, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, Valentine's Day is a little late, but yeah, I think that it's not one of his. I do think it's strong, but I don't think it's as strong as Get Out to be where it's something that was
Mhm.
just revolutionary or essential outside
Yeah.
of her performance.
I think that's fair. I think that's like that's the assessment
Yeah, yeah.
of Us. Um some
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 other
other
ones,
ones.
I think for sure Friday the 13th. I
Mhm.
think as a franchise should be there. I know we do individual movies because I don't think Friday the 13th, anybody that knows me has listened to me, read anything, is my number one with a bullet as far as franchises. Jason Voorhees is my boy.
Yeah.
Every time there's a Friday the 13th, I'm watching multiple of those, and I don't need a reason to watch that entire series franchise to begin with. He's my ride or die. Um, but I think as a franchise, because of what Jason meant and what it meant to the slasher genre, there's not a great movie in there. Like there's not a
Mhm.
Halloween and there's not a Nightmare on Elm Street in the Friday the
Mhm.
13th series to me. Like none of them are great. None of them would be the best. So I wouldn't say an individual movie might be, but I do think that at least the original is essential because you don't have the slasher boom without it.
Mhm.
I'm not taking anything away from Halloween, but Halloween was a couple of years before that, but you didn't see the
Mhm.
boom until after
Yeah.
Friday the 13th. And so to me it's essential of telling the story and how I look at the canon of telling the story of the history of horror, which turn into if you don't have Friday the 13th, you don't have Jason, which is one of the greatest horror
Yeah.
pop culture characters of all time. So that one definitely to me should be in there.
Yeah. I hear that argument. A few more recent movies that I don't think we've voted on these years yet, but we've done episodes about movies from 2024 and 2025 that we would nominate for the canon, and two that I think that are featured on this list that I think will have a good chance of actually making it in. From 2024, I think it was one of your favorite movies, The Substance, and from 2025, Weapons. I think both of those movies in a couple of years will have a really good shot at actually making it into the canon. So, um, yeah, I don't know.
I feel like that too. I do think that once you let them breathe and stuff, that sometimes it's funny how movies will kind of slip or jump out that you weren't expecting. I feel like Weapons. Um, that one's a weird one for me. I love Weapons.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if it's one of those where if it doesn't have Aunt Gladys, is it a canon worthy movie? Does Aunt Gladys, which of course, I mean, she's in there, so it helps,
Yeah.
right? But I think Aunt Gladys just took over the kind of the pop culture and people dressing up for Halloween as her and stuff like that, that it just kind
Yeah.
of elevated it. So it'll be interesting if that dies down or not in a few years, or if it's still as resonant as it is right now, or resonates as it does right now.
Yeah.
And same thing with the substance. I think that will be, just because for what it means to horror and what it meant last year and stuff. And so, and I don't see that one. I'm not the biggest fan of the finale on the substance, but it's so good up to that point. And it's not like it's bad. It's just I wish it was a little bit different, personal opinion.
Yeah.
But I could see both of those definitely being around, or at least being talked about in a few years.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think The Substance will have staying power. It's weird
Oh
it
yeah,
was nominated for Best Picture, but it still feels like it's an under the radar movie, and I think it's gonna have like a
yes,
big boom in a couple of years. And I think Weapons just like um I don't know, I think it has staying power as well. It'll be tough if we're limiting certain years to a certain number of movies because I think that there were a few other movies in 2025 that Weapons will be competing with and might have
yeah.
more legs than Weapons, but we shall see. Um,
And I'm one of the ones I always, and I know Sailor does too, and there's certain ones, but I push more for horror um,
yeah,
as well. But there's only so many that you can put in there, because then if you're putting too many horror, then you're leaving out some big time, you know, dramas and
mhm,
sci-fi's and all that kind of stuff. So, because you got, I mean, you also got Sinners from this
yeah,
year that's gonna really make its mark as well, I think. Um,
yeah.
um, yeah, and and one that like I may say her name wrong, Wunmi,
Wunmi, Masaka or Masaku?
Wunmi Masaka. I don't know if I've ever said her name out loud.
Yeah,
She was close to making the list, but to me, she was also one of those kind of similar to Pan's Latherus. I don't think I think you start looking at other things, and she's a
mhm,
good character and a great performance, but not really no, making it on there is because she's not the top thing that you think about when it comes to Sinners in my mind. So, but yeah, a really good. But I think Sinners would be one that should be on the canon
yeah.
probably in a few years too.
Seems like it probably will be. I think there's a good chance that movie sticks around.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for sure.
awesome. Kane, thank you so much for joining. This has been an absolute blast talking through some of the best female horror characters of all time. A very fun list to highlight. We'll have to talk more at some point about list construction and all
Yeah.
that good stuff. But yeah, anything else that you have on the website, either right now or coming up, or that might be out by the time this is released that you want folks to be on the lookout for?
Now, the biggest thing I got next is the movie madness tournament that we do every year during
Nice.
March Madness. Pretty much this year, the theme is we're going to do the best 1990s movie. So we're going to
Sweet.
decide what is the best 1990s movie. So I'll usually like to drop the regions of what each region is going to be. And what movies are going to be in that region, not the matchups, but that'll
Mhm.
start, I think, on March 2nd or March 3rd, whatever that first Monday is in March, the actual tournament where
Yeah.
you can vote on that first round, and each round each week, and all the way until we get to a champion of which one stands as top of the 1990s mountain.
Yeah. It's obviously gonna be Mallrats.
Oh, if it makes if it makes the tournament.
If it makes
If it makes the
the
field of
field of
64, because it
64. Yeah.
and that's and that the constructing that's, like constructing the list, which is kind of like, man, you get to 64, not 100. So
Yeah.
it's like, man, I gotta make sure I got some variety, but also gotta make sure I've got some of the best in there and
Yeah. You
all
need some
that. So yeah,
mid-majors,
right, definitely.
one.
I'm definitely gonna have some ones that I like to have in there, but they're gonna get destroyed,
Yeah.
by the number one. Like nobody's like, I got a little bit of a, I guess, a peek ahead. So
Mhm.
the four regions are based on the movie uh, director from that. So it's Pulp Fiction. So Tarantino region is led
Mhm.
by Pulp Fiction. Scorsese region is led by Goodfellas, of course.
Mhm.
Spielberg region is Schindler's List, and then the Wachowski region is the Matrix. So it's like it's going to be hard for any of the 16
Yeah.
seeds to upset one of those in the first round. So
Oh yeah. Okay, we're gonna have to come back to this because I got too many sports analogies, right? Like Tarantino is he's the Big Ten, right? He's the the conference with so many teams in, and they're all top heavy, and it's like, it's like it's Michigan and Michigan State and Purdue and like all those teams, Indiana, Illinois, that's the
right,
Tarantino
yeah, yeah,
conference. So that'll be super fun. Definitely looking forward to that. Folks should be on the lookout for that.
yeah,
Also go, if you haven't already, take a look at the list of the top 100 female horror characters of all time, because it's a good list. It's a fun list. Drop a comment. Um, you can debate Kane in the comments. You can debate me in the
definitely.
comments. You can debate Sailor in the comments and everyone else. It's a grand old time. There's a ton of other fun stuff coming out on the website. Lots of good lists, and all the rest, reviews. The Canon will be coming back with. We're gonna get back to actual movies at some point. It's coming soon, maybe in the next couple of weeks, but be on the lookout for that. We will be back in whatever feed it is that you're catching us right now, in Spotify, Apple, the ScreenAge Wasteland podcast YouTube page, on the website proper, wherever it is that you find us. We will be back here. We will see you soon. And as always, in the meantime, we will see all of you lovely folks in the wasteland. Bye, everyone.